front desk apologized for the smell in my room before I'd even complained about it. That should have told me something right away. I'm a travel nurse, 13-hour shifts, 4 states in 6 months, and I've slept in more motels than most people sleep in beds. I know the smell of bleach, covering something older underneath. The clerk, a heavy-set guy in his 50s, kept his eyes on the counter when he handed me the key. "Room's been aired out," he said. "Should be fine by tonight." It wasn't the smell that got me. It was the pillow. There were 2 pillows on the bed. Mine, flat from the dryer, still creased where it had been folded in plastic, and the one beside it, dented in the middle, like someone's head had been resting there an hour ago. I told myself housekeeping missed a spot. I unpacked. I went to work. When I came back at 1 a.m., the dent in that second pillow was different, deeper on the left side instead of the right. I started checking things. Small things. The bathroom cup was damp when I hadn't used it. The chain lock, which I always fasten out of habit, was undone one morning when I was sure I'd set it the night before. I asked the day clerk, a woman named Priya, if maintenance had been in my room. She looked at the second clerk's schedule taped behind the desk and got quiet. "You're in 114, she said. "That's not on anyone's list today." I started sleeping with my badge scanner and my phone flashlight under the pillow, not for protection, just so I'd know. If something happened, I'd have proof. 3 nights later, I came back from a double shift, and the deadbolt was thrown from the inside. I stood in the parking lot for 10 minutes before I called the front desk instead of going in. The night clerk, the heavyset one, came out to meet me, and for the first time he looked at me instead of a counter. "There's a guy," he said, low, like he didn't want the words to carry. "Comes in around midnight most nights. Older tenant way before you. He still has a key from when the locks weren't changed over." I told him to stop. He says he pays half. Pays half, like I was splitting rent with a stranger I'd never met. I asked why they hadn't changed the lock. He said the owner didn't want to pay for a locksmith on a room that wasn't getting complaints. I checked out that night and drove to a chain hotel 40 minutes away, and I didn't sleep until sunrise. 3 weeks later, scrolling through a local news page out of habit, I saw a small item about a man arrested 2 counties over for breaking into short-term rentals with duplicate keys he'd kept from old addresses. Room 114 wasn't mentioned. Neither was the motel, but the description matched close enough that I sat in my car in a hospital parking lot and didn't move for a long time. I still don't know if the man who slept in my bed knew I was in it too. I know I never checked the deadbolt from the inside again without also checking that the chain was doubled. And I know that somewhere there's a room key on someone's ring that still opens a door that's supposed to be mine. The knocking started on my 4th night, always at 12:40, never a minute off. I manage a small pest control route through 3 counties, which means motels are basically my second address. I know how to sleep through ice machines and slamming doors. I do not know how to sleep through someone testing a doorknob for 11 seconds and then walking away. The first night I looked through the peephole and saw nothing. Empty walkway, 1 flickering light 2 doors down. I told myself it was a drunk guest at the wrong room. The second night, the knock came again at 12:40. 3 raps, a pause, then a 4th knock lower on the door, almost at knee height. I mentioned it to the front desk the next morning. The clerk, young guy, barely 20, didn't laugh it off the way I expected. He just said, "Which room are you in?" And when I told him, he wrote something down and didn't explain what. Third night, I stayed awake on purpose. 12:38, footsteps. 12:40, the knock. And this time a voice, quiet, almost gentle. "I know you're in there, Danny." "My name isn't Danny." I didn't answer. I heard the person outside exhale, long and slow, like they were disappointed, and then the footsteps moved off toward the ice machine and didn't come back. In the morning, I asked the clerk who Danny was. He hesitated so long I thought he wasn't going to answer at all. Then he said a guest had stayed in my room for 8 months, off and on, before I ever checked in. Owed money to people the clerk wouldn't name, left in the middle of the night 3 weeks ago, and never came back for his deposit or his things, which the motel still had boxed up in the office. "She still comes by," he said. "Girlfriend, I think. Or was. We tell her he checked out for good. She doesn't believe us." I asked why nobody warned new guests. He said corporate didn't want recurring incident notes on the property's file. It affected the booking algorithm. I checked the deposit box myself before I left, told them I wanted to see if my name had been added to anything by mistake. Underneath a folded jacket and a phone charger was a laminated card with a name on it. Not Danny, a different name, with a birth date that would have made him 17 when the room was first rented under an adult's ID. I didn't ask any more questions after that. I paid for my stay and left 2 days early. 3 months later, driving that same route, I saw a missing person flyer stapled to a telephone pole outside a gas station 40 miles from that motel. Same young face as the laminated card. Posted date the week before I checked in. I've never told anyone I saw it. I've never gone back to that motel either. But some nights on the road, in some other room in some other town, I wake up at 12:40 exactly, and I lie there and listen. Not this time. The wall behind my headboard was warm at 2 a.m., and motel walls aren't supposed to be warm. I run a small landscaping crew, and after a job 2 states over, I always book whatever's cheapest and closest to the highway. This one had a 212 on the door and a 214 2 doors down. Nothing in between. I didn't think about it until I woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of a television through the wall behind my bed, a wall that, according to the room numbers, shouldn't have belonged to any room at all. I told the front desk in the morning, mostly as a joke. The clerk didn't laugh. She said, "There's no 213. It's storage." Then she looked past me at the next guest in line, and that was that. Walking back from my truck that evening, I counted the doors myself. 210, 211, 212. Then, a gap of blank wall, no frame, no number plate. Then 214. From the outside, there was no room there at all. From my bed, there very clearly was. Second night, the television sound came back, along with something else. Low voices, close together like people leaning in to avoid being heard. I put my hand flat on the wall. It was warm the way a wall gets when there's a body heater running behind it, not the way a wall gets from pipes. In the hallway, the storage door had a keypad instead of a regular lock, newer than any of the ones on the guest rooms. Someone had spent real money on a door nobody was supposed to open. Third night, something dropped and rolled against the far side of my headboard wall, and a voice said, clear enough that I sat straight up in bed, "Careful, she's right there." She, meaning me. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I lay there with the lamp off, listening to every sound on the other side of that wall. A chair scraping, water running, once, briefly, what might have been someone crying, cut off fast like a hand had gone over a mouth. In the morning, I watched the hallway instead of going to breakfast, and around 11, a man in a motel polo let himself into 213 with a code, carrying grocery bags and a laptop case. He checked the hallway both directions before he used the keypad, the way you check a hallway when you don't want to be seen doing something ordinary. He was in there 4 minutes and came out with nothing. That evening, from a chair by my own window, I watched the door again and saw a second person go in a few hours later. Smaller, hooded, moving fast, let in without touching the keypad at all, like someone was already waiting on the other side to open it. That was the detail that scared me more than the knocking or the voices had. Someone was in there full time, and the man with the bags was just bringing them things. I asked the manager directly this time, not the desk clerk. She was younger than I expected, tired in a way that made me believe whatever she said next. The room had been converted years ago, before she took over, into off-book lodging, a place to put people who needed to disappear for a while without a name on a registry. Employees mostly. She tried to shut it down twice, and lost both fights with the owner. I asked who was in there now. She glanced at the office door before answering, like she wanted to make sure it was shut. Someone who needed to not be found for a while. That's all I'm allowed to tell you. She didn't say found by who. I asked if I was in danger. She said probably not. Then, but I'd ask for a different room anyway, in a voice that made the probably sound heavier than it should have. I switched rooms that night, and mostly slept better for it, except I kept waking at the times I used to hear the television, out of habit, listening for a wall that wasn't there anymore. 2 days later, I passed 213 on my way out. The keypad had been removed, just a raw rectangle of unpainted drywall where it used to be, like the room itself was trying to erase what it had been used for. The cardboard was gone from the window too, through the glass. For the few seconds I let myself look, the room was empty, a bare mattress and nothing else, like whoever had been staying there had left in a hurry, or been moved somewhere else in one. I finished the job in that town and never booked that motel again. But I still think about the warmth in that wall sometimes, and how a room with no number can hold people the front desk will never admit exist.